these are unprecedented times, certainly, but how can we change our federal spending habits to better prepare this country for situations like we're facing right now, just to be in a better place before we get to them?
Well, I got to say, this is a question that actually pushes my anger button a little bit more than just about any other issue. Ever since I've been in Congress and long before it, I've been advocating for some sort of fiscal responsibility and accountability in Washington. This is one of the reasons why I support the Convention of States and other ways to put pressure on Washington to do their job. We haven't been. I've used we loosely. I've been trying, but Congress has not been doing its job. And now we're sitting at pushing now $25 trillion of debt. We're at 24.7. I would have told you before the coronavirus outbreak and our response to it that we were racking up $110 million of debt per hour. That number is now going to go massively up because the $2 trillion we spent last week is more than our entire discretionary budget is in a given year. Now, we'll get some of that back if it's loans and so forth, but we're going to spend a lot of money. And you know what? You have rainy day funds and you live responsibly so that when you get hit, you've got something to deal with. You can borrow to deal with a problem. You have some funds in a rainy day fund. Texas has a rainy day fund, for example. But in the United States, we've been spending money we don't have for as long as I can remember. I believe there are things we can do to do something about it. I'm hopeful that this crisis will now be a kick in the pants, that we need to actually do our job and do what's necessary to get some fiscal restraint in Washington. But I'll tell you this, as long as people believe that money grows on trees and that at the end of the day, you can just spend and keep spending and it doesn't matter, then we're never going to get the change we need. And too many people in Washington are of that view that there's no consequence to going from 24 trillion to 28 trillion in debt. I disagree. It's undermining our future, our national security. And I do believe, like, as you said, General Mattis said, that it's our biggest national security threat. So we won't be able to fund our national security and defense or take care of our veterans in 5, 10, 20 years because we've been so irresponsible. We need to put restrictions in place and change policies and procedures. For example, I think we ought to go to 2-year budgeting cycles so that we can be a little bit more thoughtful about how we're doing our spending. I think we should put some restrictions in place about when you can, for example, should Congress be immediately raising money in the first 6 months of a Congress rather than actually just doing their job of passing a budget and passing appropriations? In Texas, for example, we meet every other year and you're not allowed to raise money while you're in the legislative session. I think there are things like that we need to fundamentally change the game in Washington so that they get slapped upside the head. I'm including myself, but that Congress gets slapped upside the head to do the right thing. It's time. I'm tired of it. We got to do something about it.